people look at you with a little bit of suspicion.
Why? Like you're a spy, or?
Well, for sure. You know, I mean, I'm constantly accused of being MI6's number one.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So
If your wife didn't run away, you would still be there.
I assume so. My life would have been very different, yeah, and a lot more boring. And then I was in a plane crash, a Boeing 727 from Jordan to Yemen and into Eritrea. My nickname became Debeli Englez.
Debeli Englez.
Debeli Englez, yeah, like a crazy English guy.
Pozdrav dragi gledatelji, gledate YouTube kanal 24 sata, share, like, subscribe. Ovo je veliki intervju, ja sam Marija Grigorijan Vučković, a danas je sa mnom poseban gost, Englez Paul Bradbury, koji je došao u Hrvatsku prije 20 godina, a uskoro će postati novi voditelj na YouTube kanalu 24 sata. Paul, English or Croatian?
Pa znam da hrvatski je svjetski jezik i samo najpametniji ljudi znaju hrvatski, ali nisam ja toliko pametan, ali trudim se, ali lakše me na engleskom.
Odličan ti je hrvatski.
Hvala.
Okay, let's speak on English then. So you came to Croatia 20 years ago.
Yes.
Before you came to Croatia, you were in Rwanda, in Russia, Soviet Union actually,
yep.
in Armenia.
Yep.
You lived for a year. So which was the most dangerous country in the world you were?
Most dangerous? I mean, I guess I went to Rwanda in 1994, just after the genocide, where 800,000 people got killed in 100 days, about 12% of the population. And I went there like 2 weeks afterwards. I was one of the first aid workers in there. And I didn't feel any danger myself, but every checkpoint would have a 10 or 12-year-old kid with a Kalashnikov in stuff, so it felt a little bit unsafe. I worked in Somalia. Somalia I found to be, in the north, Somaliland, very safe. In the east...
What about pirates?
Well, in the east, they had, I couldn't leave the compound without an armed guard. So, so if I would go out in the field, I would have a guy with a Kalashnikov with me. And it got so claustrophobic that I'd like to go for a walk on the beach in the evening, and I could only do that with this armed guard with me. It was kind of crazy and stuff. So that was definitely, if I'd been on my own traveling, that would have been very dangerous. But you know, in general, I'm a very open guy. I don't really see danger. I just keep traveling through it. And so I had a gun to my head on the border between Montenegro and Kosovo when I was walking through the mountains at midnight.
What happened?
There was an Italian soldier, and he hadn't noticed that I was walking past, and so there was just a gun to my head, and he started speaking to me in Italian, and the only thing I know how to say in Italian is "è vietato fumare," which is like it's forbidden to smoke, because that's what you see on the trains. And it was just like this crazy kind of scene, and then he calmed down, and I calmed down. We spoke a bit of French, and then it was okay. So yeah.
What did you do there?
I was traveling. So I was. I used to be married, and my wife ran off with a hairy truck driver when I was after about 1 year of marriage back in 2001. And I drunkenly decided in the pub one day that I would hitchhike from my local pub in Oxford to South Africa.
If your wife didn't run away, you would still be there.
I assume so. My life would have been very different, yeah, and a lot more boring. It was a different pace of life. It was a new start for me. Mm-hmm. And then we sold our house in the UK, and I was finally free of that relationship. And I was looking for a place to buy, to have a place to stay and keep my books. And so there was an advert on CNN, Croatia, the Mediterranean as it once was. And so I then decided to buy in Croatia. And 6 weeks later, I was buying a house in Jelsa.
And you met your wife here, Croatian wife?
Yeah, and then I met Miranda then in the library. She was working as the assistant librarian.
And your first wife was from England?
She was half English, half Colombian. I traveled a lot before I came to Croatia. I'd been to like 95 countries, and I'd lived in 10 different countries.
Did you have girlfriends there?
I'm not really. I'm not very successful like that. And but then when I came to Croatia, I was very fortunate to meet this amazing family, and we've got 2 wonderful kids. And bringing up children on the island of Hvaru is absolute paradise. You know, they learn to swim at the age of 2. They have this affinity with water. I learned to swim when I was 29. For me, vegetables grow in supermarkets in Manchester, whereas for them they were out with their grandfather, in the Polje, doing that, and it was just so nice to have them to have that feeling with nature and so on, and it was so safe. And there's this amazing sense of community that you have in Croatia, where you can go down to the piazza and have a coffee, and you can forget your child because you know that somebody somewhere is looking after them. Everything is with 4 generations, and we've totally lost that in the West. So having travelled so much, to then slow down and live for 13 years on a small island without really travelling anywhere was absolutely magical, and I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity.
So tell me about women, Croatian women.
Croatian women.
It's a different mentality, different culture. Did you have some problems in the beginning, at least?
Not really. I mean, I don't really have any experience with Croatian women apart from Miranda, and that was absolutely fine. It was, I guess, it's a little bit not so much women, but actually moving to an island. There's a mentality there that's it's quite hard to break into an island mentality, and so people look at you with a little bit of suspicion.
Why? Like you're a spy, or?
Well, for sure. I mean, I'm constantly accused of being MI6's number one.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, well, the fact that you saw me on the street today and picked me up in the car is proof that yes, FSB is doing its good job. But no, and when you're a foreigner coming into quite a closed community like that, it's quite hard. But then slowly, after a time, people accept that you are genuinely there to stay and you're genuinely there to engage. And I guess there were 2 moments in my time in Jelsa when I felt accepted. The first was when I got my nickname, because on a Dalmatian island, if you do not have your own special nickname, then you're nobody. Yeah, and so my nickname became Ludi Englez.
Ludi Englez.
Ludi Englez, yeah, like a crazy English guy. And
were you offended?
No, I was honestly honoured. I was like, well, they could have called me so many other things, but that. And then I also get called a lot Debeli Englez.
Debeli Englez.
Yeah. So, in fact, one guy sent me a book, a package in the post a few years ago, and he addressed it as Debeli Englez 21465 Jelsa, and it was delivered by the post office. So they just from Debeli Englez, they knew it was for me, and so. So I actually find that quite a compliment, really. And the other huge compliment I had in Jelsa was I became very, very obsessed with the klupa, with the bench, like these old guys sitting on the bench with all their wisdom, and they were very respected members of society, and the conversations they had there, the wisdom, so this was called the Dalmatian Google, or the island Wikipedia. And I became a little bit obsessed, and so on my blog I used to write about how I've achieved so much in life. I've met lovely family, I've traveled the world, great job. The one thing I still want to do in my life is to be invited to sit on the bench, because this is a real sign of acceptance. Yeah. And all my Croatian friends were laughing, saying, you will be 50 years here before anybody will invite you to sit on the bench, because this is really a lifetime achievement, even in the local community. And so one day I was late for a meeting to meet this very important new client from Australia, and I was walking along, and then I saw him walking towards me, and I was walking past the bench, and we'd made eye contact, we were just about to shake hands, and then I heard this, "Hey, Englez." And I turned around, and it was one of the guys on the bench saying, "Sit with us." So this was my historic invitation to sit on the bench. But I had this really important client, and I had a judgment call to make. Either I can make this client think I'm really strange, or I can give up a lifetime opportunity to sit on the bench. So I made a quick decision, and I said to the guy, "It's great to meet you. I have a very strange request. I'll pay for the drinks. Can you just take a photograph of me sitting with these old guys? I'll explain it later." And then I sat on the bench, and it felt truly like it. And my local friends were like, "How did you manage that after just 13 years?"
And then you moved to Zagreb.
And then I moved to Varaždin. So we moved to Varaždin in 2016. Yeah. So and a part of that was because we had my business was much more in Zagreb, and so I was traveling a lot. Early morning catamaran, 5 hours on the bus to Zagreb, and then you'd have one meeting, and then you'd be on the last bus at 3 o'clock to come back for the 8:30 ferry to come back. So you'd have like a couple of meetings, and that was it overnight. And but also we wanted to have a different experience that wasn't just totally island. And the reality of island life is it's amazing. But if you're bringing up children, I would say it's probably the best experience up until the age of 10 for kids, because you learn about nature, you learn about community, safety, all these things. And then once it gets beyond 10, there's not that much to do. And also, you know, I didn't want the kids just to be from the island and then go to university in, you know, Zagreb and go, what the hell is this, a big city? So we wanted to have a different experience. So we decided to go, we thought Zagreb back then was too big, but I was doing some work in Varaždin County. I really liked it. The mindset there is a lot more business-like, and it still had that safety, and it was close to Zagreb, so we had 5 years there. And then 18 months ago we moved to Zagreb for bit for work, bit for high school, and so on. And Zagreb, I think, is probably 10 years ago was one of the most boring cities in the world, and today I would say it's one of the best places to live in the world.
It's not boring anymore for
I
you.
think it's fantastic. It's got.
Where do you go out?
I mean, I don't go out that much. I mean, I go to a few cafes, bars, occasional restaurants. But what I love about Zagreb and about Croatia in general is that there is this default negative mindset. Everybody thinks everything is terrible. Everyone's leaving, and the reality in Croatia is that there are some really, really cool people here doing some incredible stuff below the radar.
Like whom?
So, I mean, you know, if you look at like the Remaxes and the Infobips and that sort of stuff, they're doing great stuff. But then you have a lot of you know, like these shoes, Muret. These are two brothers, and they are producing the most ecologically friendly shoes in the world. So they're 97% biodegradable, and they're on a mission to make
Croatian.
it Croatian, yeah, from Dugoresa. And they're a small business. And
our cameraman is watching your shoes.
Yeah,
he likes them. He likes them, obviously.
Yeah, but and they have an incredible range of different things. But it's all you know, eco stuff. And it's just these two guys with a dream. And now they're getting money from Funderbeam, and they're going global. They've had conversations with venture capitalists. And they have a phenomenal product which is actually going to go global. And these are just two brothers with a dream that you don't really hear about. And there are hundreds of people in Croatia like that. The problem,
who else, for example?
Who else? So there's a woman I just met who has just developed the first financial literacy app for teenagers. So teenagers have no idea what is 100 euros, what is 10 euros. They've got no idea at all. And so she's decided, looking at her children, that what she wants to do is to educate her children into, if you want those sneakers for 100 euros, that's fine, but then let's teach you about financial planning and saving it so that you can afford that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you know, before it's like, give me the money or this, or we have no idea. And now her children are actually financially aware about planning and everything else. So these are skills, and she's turned this into an application, and it's the first in the world for this kind of thing. So you know, that's somebody else that sees a practical problem. And the problem in Croatia, I think, is that we have this default negative mindset. And if I say, give me one sentence about Croatia which was true, I would say it was, a Croatian can forgive you anything but success. And so all the cool people, all the things that are really happening, I mean, the medical tourism industry here is insane. It's at a global level.
You told once that Bagatin is the best clinic, and that Ivanka Trump did her eye surgery in Poliklinika Svetlos.
Svetlos, yeah. So if you look at that, so you know, Ognjen Bagatin is one of the best people in this country, and he single-handedly has pushed the Croatian medical tourism industry forward. He's the guy that made the connections with Cleveland Clinic. He's the guy. So I was with him in Berlin at the International Medical Travel Journal Awards, which is the most prestigious in the medical tourism industry, and his clinic was voted the best international cosmetic surgery in the world. And
I can't believe it, because before I heard that Israel has the best clinics.
Israel has great stuff too, but you know, Croatia, you know, the public health system in Croatia is certainly not the best. It certainly could be better. But the medical tourism industry, if you look at St. Catherine's Specialty Hospital, you know, it's one of the leading hospitals in the world. It was the first clinic in the whole of Europe to bring pharmacogenetic testing in partnership with the Mayo Clinic to Europe, the first one in Europe. They have stem cell research stuff that's going on there. You have Svetlos, who are one of the leading clinics in Europe for eye testing. Ivanka Trump was one, but you have a lot of celebrities coming in and a lot of people coming in. Dentistry, it's some of the best in Europe, and it's affordable. And so what we don't have here is we don't have coordination, and we don't have a strategy, and so on. And in the Croatian National Tourist Board, that should be their job. and it's just not really working. You have on the coast in Hvaru, the Hvaru Health Tourism Cluster are doing phenomenal work, and you know you have international Olympic stars coming for physiotherapy down with in Tenma Seltzer, for example, with Vlasta. She's a global star at what she does, and so these pockets of excellence are all over Croatia in every single industry. The problem is we don't celebrate them, because as soon as somebody does something well, then we just, in Croatia, people decide just to, you know, to turn it into a negative.
Do you have the same problem?
Well, I wouldn't call myself successful, so I don't really have the same problem. But I
mean, you appear in the newspapers and
yeah, I mean,
TV shows.
I guess I'm most famous for 2 lawsuits from the Croatian National Tourist Board, which thankfully I didn't lose. What I find here as a foreigner is a foreigner is not really allowed to have an opinion. Like, if you say everything is beautiful, that's great. And as soon as you start to say this is wrong, or this, it's like, who the hell are you to criticize our country, even if we agree with you? And so
even if you have the citizenship.
I don't at the moment, but I mean, I have Stanley Borovac, so and I could apply for the citizenship if I wanted to.
Why didn't you?
I don't really. I'm a bit nervous you might start fighting again and then send me to the front. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No real reason. I mean, I have a British citizenship. I have Irish citizenship through my mother, so I have the EU citizenship. I don't see any need to get an additional citizenship. So yeah.
No one can say, you, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, I used to be really sensitive to comments, because and you know, the level of abuse I get in terms of comments and stuff is quite insane. And
where do you have the?
Every time I put it on Facebook or private message or things like that, and I get threats and I get all sorts of things. And
what kind of threats?
Just, I mean, we're going to come and find you, you fat English, blah 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 blah. You
really?
know, yeah.
Croatian people, Croatian.
Who knows? Fake profiles, yeah. And so I'm about actually to. We have a YouTube channel called which we've just launched, called Paul Bradbury Croatia Expert, and my next video is actually a celebration of my online trolls, where I'm celebrating their magnificence, because what I've decided is to, rather than get offended by it, is to celebrate it. So every time I get an offensive message now, I screenshot it and I put it on my Facebook and I tag the person and I just say, hey guys, this is what the guy thinks. And it's amazing, you never hear from them again.
Which was the worst message?
I mean, I guess the worst message was a phone call I got once, which was, don't forget you have children. Click. That would probably be top of the list, yeah.
And what happened afterwards?
I decided not to write about the topic that I was writing about anymore, so yeah.
Did you feel bad about it?
No, I felt, well, it was a lesson that, you know, in journalism, there are countries where, you know, you have real journalists that go in there and they don't really care about the consequences, because for them the profession is the most important thing. And for me at that point, I was like, okay, I can keep doing this, but actually, if it's going to endanger something like that, then I don't really want to. There's plenty of other things to write about.
Did you call police?
No. Maybe I should have done. I don't know. But I get a lot of things telling me to, you know, go back to the UK, that you know, they're going to come and find me, that kind of stuff, and you know, I get accused a lot of being very pro Tito, with all the love that comes. I don't really have an opinion on Tito, but so. I
mean, I had research on you, but I didn't see anything about Tito. You talking about Tito?
Well, when this video comes out about my online trolls, you can watch that and you can see some of the love that I get from the. It's mostly the diaspora in Australia that are very out of touch with what's really going on in Croatia. You know, their parents or grandparents left in 1945, and they have this very 1945 view of Croatia. And I think they feel a little bit threatened by me, because they keep talking about coming back to the homeland, but it's too corrupt and you can't make a living there. And then here's an English guy who comes and makes a living there and enjoys it with no Croatian blood, with no grb on his tattoo, and I'm totally happy about it, and I'm writing about it. And I think they feel a little bit, okay, we're these proud Croats and we can't come home, but here's an English guy who's not even Croat and he's making it work. And so I get a lot of negativity because of that, which is fine, I don't mind.
But did you have any problem in real life?
No, in terms of physical threats in real life, no, because a lot of these people, they are what I call keyboard warriors. They like to put out their hate and everything on keyboards. I mean, we had a diaspora event in Zadar recently where we were filming. I invited, because the thing about the diaspora is, because we don't celebrate success, all we get is negative perceptions. And so I was pretty sure from my inbox that there are more and more people coming back to Croatia from the diaspora. And so I put out a thing on Facebook saying, if you're a returnee and you want to share your story to tell other people, I'd happily publish your story. I'll give you a link to your website on our portal, Total Croatian News. And 63 people contacted me saying, we've come back, we love it. And so we started doing these interviews, and everyone was like, wow, we had no idea that so many people from the diaspora are coming back and loving it and
coming
making
back
it work.
From where? From
Australia, from Canada, from the States, from Austria, from Germany, from the UK, from Ireland, pretty much from South America.
Reason?
They're coming back mostly for safety, mostly for lifestyle. And now with the remote work revolution, you can work anywhere if you're in a certain industry. And so why wouldn't you work from Croatia, which is very, very safe, which, especially if you're from Australia, with the whole crazy lockdown politics they had there. And whatever you think of the coronavirus, you know, Croatia had a very liberal thing, and it was, in terms of freedom, it was one of the top in the world. And so now when you have this lifestyle, you have this safety, we're now in the European Union, we're in the Schengen zone, we're in, we have the Euro, we can now go to the States without visas. You know, the Croatian passport now is really, really powerful. And so now you have the opportunity, if you're in the diaspora, is to apply for your Croatian citizenship. And imagine you're living in Peru and you're trying to go to the States. You can't go to the States. But if you're Peru and you get your Croatian passport, suddenly you're an EU citizen in the Schengen zone and you can do all these different things. So the possibilities for Croatia to capitalize on all this, if they had a proper strategy, it's immense. And these people come back and they bring with them their mindset, and they bring with them their entrepreneurship and their business experience, and they will come and they will inspire people here, and they will show people here there is no real need to leave. You can do things from here. One of the series we're doing at the moment on Total Croatian News is everybody complains because I'm a rich foreigner, obviously, because I have to be rich because I'm foreign, because I'm here, which isn't true. But that it's okay for me as a foreigner to live here. And I'm like, you know, because I'm on this international salary apparently. And that's so I put on Facebook saying, are there any Croatians who live in Croatia and earn an international salary that would like to do an interview to show it's possible? And I've had a ton of people. And you know, rather than complain about everything, these people are going, I love Croatia, I love the lifestyle, I want to make it work for me. So I'm going to work my ass off and send out 5,000 emails, and I'm going to get one little gig somewhere online doing this, and they build it into a portfolio. And because they've got the determination to do that, and they're not complaining about how terrible things are, they're saying, I want to take the good things here, and I want to make it work for me. And they're making it work, and it is possible. And this is another new breed of generation of positive story that you don't hear about, because these people don't put themselves up in the media to say, hey, look at me, and stuff.
Aren't you afraid that Croatia will be more dangerous because of this?
Because of what?
Opening to the world and people coming back from everywhere.
I think it's interesting because and, you know, I'm about to write an editorial called you know, Croats leaving, foreigners coming, how to preserve Hrvatska. Yeah, because as soon as I write something saying Croatia is the best place to live in Europe, which I believe it is, I did a video on this, we've had like 70,000 views. You know, people are like going, don't bring more foreigners here. Okay, so, but the perception is everyone's leaving. So if everyone's leaving and there's no one to do the jobs, what do we do with Hrvatska, with all these patriots in Australia? Okay, it's great you saying don't let foreigners come. What are you doing about it to preserve your country? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. The reality is today, if you go around, there was an amazing post on LinkedIn by a guy called Milan Horvat recently, and he said, in 3 years, the population of Varaždin, where he's from, is now 15% foreign. It's Africans and it's Asians, and he says this to me is a very welcome thing because it's bringing a diversity to the thing. But these are the people that are doing the jobs that people in Varaždin don't want to do because they can get the same jobs across the border in Slovenia or in Austria. And so what do? You just say, don't let any foreigners come in, everything will close, and everyone will leave. There'll be nothing left. And so you have to have a strategic policy of allowing foreigners to come in, I believe. And now, for better or for worse, we've decided to go into the EU, and that means that we are in Europe. We're now in the Schengen zone. We're now in the Eurozone. So it's great saying we want to preserve Hrvatska, and I understand that, and I understand the reasons why. But rather than just saying it, come up with the solutions then. If you're in Australia saying no to foreigners, that's great. Get your ass back into Croatia, prove you're a Croat, and build something here. And if you don't, then you don't really have a voice to complain.
Paul, za kraj bi ja nekoliko pitanja na hrvatskom, može?
Ajme, može.
Koje je tvoje omiljeno jelo hrvatsko?
Ako ja mogu svaki dan, samo jednu stvar, to će biti obavezno sarma.
Koje je tvoje omiljeno mjesto u Zagrebu?
Pa ja obožavam ovo mjesto Tuškanac. Ima priroda, ima ovaj stari grad, to je vrhunsko mjesto, da, tamo.
I znam da voliš čitati. Jesi li pročitao neku hrvatsku knjigu hrvatskog autora?
Nažalost nisam još. Znači, ja razumijem dosta, ali čitati to je malo teško za mene.
I ti si napisao nedavnu knjigu. Kako se zove tvoja zadnja knjiga? O čemu je?
Zadnja knjiga se zove Croatia, a survival kit for foreigners. I to je neki vodič. Ja sam napisao sa kolegicom Lauren Simmons, mi smo zajedno, i to je neki vodič za stranci koji hoće preseliti tamo u Hrvatskoj u Hrvatsku. Ja sam napisao polovina i to je moje iskustvo zadnjih 20 godina. I Lauren je napisala neki praktički vodič kako otvoriti račun u banci, kako naći svoj OIB i tako dalje. I mi smo to napisali prije 3 mjeseca, da. I to je super. Da.
I koji je tvoj omiljeni dio u knjizi?
U knjizi? Pa mislim da online trolls. Ja sam napisao ja sam objasnio kako realnost kad imaš neki svoj portal i napadi. Ja sam imam dosta screenshotova i sve, ja sam tako uključen.
Gdje se može kupiti ova knjiga?
Može online preko Amazona ako ti si van Hrvatske, ali hoću knjigu, školska knjiga i ljevaka.
To je bila tvoja ideja ili izdavač se obratio od tebe?
To je bio moja ideja. Ja sam prije 4 mjeseca ja sam odlučio, ja sam 20 godina tamo u Hrvatskoj, da ja ću imati neki serije 20 razloga kako Hrvatska ime promijenio mene zadnjih 20 godina. Ja sam napisao prvi i to je bio biznes u Dalmaciji i drugi je bio masline i sve. I nakon toga jedna žena kaže, to će biti super za knjigu i ako vi hoćete napisati knjigu, ja ću kupiti 40 komada. I nakon toga ja sam odlučio za knjigu i to je to.
Obavezno ćemo pročitati. Hvala ti puno što si došao.
Hvala.
Jedva čekamo novi serijal, ovaj show ovdje u ovom studiju 24 sata. Hvala vama što ste gledali. Share, like, subscribe, komentirajte, ali samo pozitivni komentar, jel da? Dosta nam je negativni.
Za negativnu kritiku ja sam uvijek spreman, ali konstruktivni. I to je to.
Eto, konstruktivna, negativna kritika. Hvala vam puno, hvala tebi i vidimo se drugom prilikom.